Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a beer, it is time for some Path of Exile discussion. Today I wanted to discuss the node Lightless Legion and give you a bit of a demonstration as to what it will give you and answer the question, is it worth your time? So what does Lightless Legion do? It causes Abyssal Depths in your maps to be super juiced when they appear. So they'll be +3 monster level. That means they'll actually be 4 levels higher than the zone that they're in. So I'm in a Forge of the Phoenix at the moment, monster level 83. That means that an Abyss would normally be level 84, but a Lightless Legion Abyss will be monster level 87. Abyssal Depth scenarios have double magic and rare monsters and have 30% increased pack size. This means that they disgorge a lot of monsters. How is this for XP? Well, let's go in and find out. If you're just interested in the TLDW though, it's about 1% of a level at level 95, and as a result, it is about 1/3 of what you would get from a Pure Esh Breachstone. So that's sort of okay, but it's nothing amazing. Now, these monsters are pretty tanky. The reason for that is that partly that they're Abyss monsters, and Abyss monsters inherently have just a lot of hit points. So they have a lot of hit points. And additionally, they also have very weak attacks. The main reason that their attacks are so weak is because this is an area without map mods, and most of the danger in the game doesn't come from scaling up from monster level. It really comes from the map mods. And the reason that red maps are so much harder than yellow maps is because red maps have higher tiers of map mods in general. It's not really that the difference between a tier 10 and a tier 11 map is that big. It's only a couple of % extra damage and like 15% monster life and maybe 60% on the bosses. But the big difference comes about from the monsters being more affected by map mods. And that continues to be the case here, and so monster level 87 is pretty tame. The other thing that you should know about though is the XP. So these zones will have a slight increase over monster level 83 content, but it's not as big as you might think. When you go to monster level 87, base monster XP goes up about 10% from what it would be at level 83. So that means that you're getting about 10% more XP than you would get if this was still monster level 83 or 84 content. Then people will always think, oh, but what about diminishing returns on XP? What about the gap between the player's level and the zone level? Well, GGG have set up a sort of soft cap on how high the zone level can go for that formula, and zones above level 80 are pretty much almost treated the same. If you want the exact numbers, I'll put a link to them down in the description of the video below. But broadly speaking, the over-leveling XP penalty will be almost identical, whether you're in tier 14 content or tier 20 content, like this monster level 87 Abyssal Depths is. Now I'm going to full clear this. In normal gameplay, you wouldn't full clear it. You would just go to the Stygian Spire at the end. The other thing that you will find here, and I haven't found any of them yet, you can find some Sacred Orb Perfect crafting bases. You typically get about 1 per 2 of the Abyssal Depths that you full clear, although I did get 3 of them on my last one. So that means that you'll pick up an item. Let's say that we had this Slink Gloves. That's a good base. You see how the evasion rating on that is 244 out of 242 to 278. If this had been 277 or 278, then my loot filter would be singing out about it. That's a crafting base that people would then want because it's something that can craft just substantially higher evasion armor than you'll otherwise get. And there's always demand for, from min-maxes for items that are crafted on those sorts of bases. However, it's not a big deal. Those things will be 70 odd C when you do get them, and that's only if they're the very, very best bases in the game. And actually, they just haven't been selling very well this league anyway. So we got this last thing that's phased out, stupid monster. And then we have the Stygian Spire fight, which is always a real letdown in terms of the actual quality of the fight. The time limit just doesn't really make any sense, but it is there. And there you go. That's the Stygian Vice drop, which is the main thing you know you're going to get. Stygian Vices are in an interesting spot. This is an item level 89 item. This would have been 86 if I didn't have the Atlas passive. However, there's actually no functional difference between an item level 86 and an item level 89 item. They're all exactly the same mod pool. The one difference is player perception. There is a section of the player base that don't know that fact. And as a result, that section of the player base will overvalue an item level 89 base and so might be inclined to buy it from you rather than buying someone else's cheaper one. You can also pick up things like Hubris Circlets. This is not Sacred or Perfect, but those are sometimes in demand, more so early in the league than now. And if you're interested in going through the entirety of the zone, picking up every Hubris Circlet that dropped, this is definitely something that people who run a lot of Eternal Labyrinth will do, because they will want a lot of those bases. Hubris Circlets, Wolf Pelts, all sort of best bases in the game for each type of defense is worth considering. But really, that's all there is to it. What's my overall opinion? Given that you get about 1% at level 95, the XP from these is okay without being great. I would certainly not consider this a must-take node, but I would say that it is something you should spec into if you actively enjoy Abysses. If you don't enjoy Abysses, then this is going to offer you very, very, very little and is not worth your time. That's all I've got. May your Varlobs have interesting results.